Okay, here we are, the final C. Got everybody in. 28, okay. So we've got a new face with us. Sam has joined us as our new scribe for this session, and Lori has joined us as well as our new chat monitor. So welcome you two to Group B.
Hi, everybody.
Okay. We're nearing the end here of a fantastic day of learning and sharing about communications, collaboration, and counsel. During this breakout session, we will be driving further into how the advisory function of the Delegate Council works. We're going to come out of this session with a clearer understanding of how the delegates will provide advice and guidance to NGS and at what level in the organization issues will be handled. So we're going to jump into a couple of questions here. So if you closed out Slido, please do open it back up. And let's go ahead and put up question number 1. Okay, remember when you're in Slido, please use Group B. What is our job as the Delegate Council? To provide a voice to NGS reflective of the needs of the genealogy member organizations, to design programs for genealogy members and organizations, to eat ice cream, to create new content for the NGS website. I'm going to go with B, to eat ice cream. That's just me. All right, 20 submissions so far.
We all scream for ice cream.
There we go. You can't go wrong with it. Okay, 23 responses. C, provide a voice, is our top answer so far. So let's go ahead and look at the answer. And if you answered C, you are correct. To provide a voice to NGS reflective of the needs of the member organizations. So let's go on to number 2. What unique perspective does the Delegate Council have to provide feedback on programming and services? The Delegate Council, Delegate Council members are psychic. I don't think that's the right answer. Delegate council members have on-the-ground experience about what their societies and organizations need. Delegate council members are very experienced genealogists. And delegate council members always know what works and what does not work. All right, 19 submissions. I'm feeling pretty confident about D here. Let's go ahead and show the answer. And that's right. So delegate council members have on-the-ground knowledge about what their societies need. You know, and that's the big part here. You're part of a group of sharing best practices, be able to connect and share that up through into NGS. So your on-the-ground experience with your organizations is truly valuable and gives a unique perspective that NGS needs. So let's move on to number 3. What role in governance of NGS does the Delegate Council play? A, to give advice to NGS, to tell NGS what to do, to control what NGS does, tell Catherine and Matt what to do. Yeah. I don't know if those are serious responses. All right. Let's go ahead and see the answer. And it is A, to give advice to NGS. You know, part of the Delegate Council's role here is to provide that counsel, to give advice, to share that unique perspective to NGS. So that's the correct answer there. All right. So after those poll questions, learned a little bit more about what the role is of the delegate council in relation to council, what kind of interactions it's going to have, and what the council is there to do in terms of providing that counsel to NGS. We're going to move into a couple more activities here, a couple more poll questions. So we're going to have the first one on there, and these are going to be some hypothetical issues and topics that might come up during a delegate council meeting. The idea here is to see how best to handle these different scenarios. So first one, your organization is having trouble maintaining its small genealogy library. That's a topic that came up in our last breakout. What's the best way to initially raise the issue? Post a question in the member community for collaborative help, advice, and assistance. Submit an agenda item for the next delegate council meeting. Email the delegate council chairperson. Call the NGS staff. Or E, call the vice president of society and organization management. Okay, they all seem reasonable, don't they? But one is best to initially raise the issue. Let's go ahead and see that answer. Hey, so the first one there, A, post a question in the member community for collaborative help, advice, and assistance. Why? Why is that the best initial way to raise the answer? Anyone willing to share their thoughts?
Because someone may have already had that problem and can give you some good advice.
Well said. Anyone, I guess no one answered differently, but can anyone share a different perspective on why? Or why the other options are not the best path forward for the initial?
Well, this is Margaret. You can get help faster, probably in the member community.
Yeah, by maybe seeing an earlier post, someone already posted on it, posted a resource,
Right.
or somebody responds quickly.
I also think we want to take full advantage of the NGS resources and not necessarily have the processes, time eaten up by kind of what I'll call individual questions as opposed to more strategic questions.
Yeah, I think that's important to think about how to use our time together at like a delegate council meeting wisely. And this is something that I think can be hashed out best in that online community.
Well, and exactly too, you don't want to be calling the NGS staff because they've got their they've got their duties and things they need to do, and you definitely don't want to be calling me. I'm not giving out my phone number, so you don't call the vice president of society management, organization management for these small things that the community can help you with. And so it's a matter of more productive time for everybody.
Great point. So, what's the issue and then how best to address that issue. And you can also think about it in terms of your own society when you have member questions, member issues. What's the pathway that they come to you and how do you route those questions, concerns, comments? Okay, any other comments on this one? Any questions?
I was just going to say that it's within your community anyway. And those are the people that you're going to want to talk to. I'm losing my voice. I'm sorry. They're the ones that have the most to gain. They're the ones that are buying into it, and they're the ones that should work on it with you.
Yeah, when you go through that, the member community, you're not just answering your question, but you may be answering a question that several others have as well that haven't posted that or maybe have thought about it and we're just about to post it. Okay, let's move on to the second hypothetical. Some of your members have concerns about virtual and hybrid programming for events. You believe others in the NGS community have the same issues and that NGS is best suited to address these issues. How do you best raise this issue initially? Ignore it. Members always have complaints. Submit an agenda item for the next delegate council meeting. Seek input from other NGS organizations. Call the NGS president. Okay. All right, we're getting a couple different answers here. Okay, interesting. Nobody wants to ignore it. Nobody wants to call the NGS president. That's clear. Okay, let's look at the answer. Look at that, 3 answers. Great. Well, this was a great opportunity to dive in a little bit deeper here. We've got 3 different answers that could be correct here. So number 1, obviously post the question to the leaders forum on Facebook. Seek input from other organizations, submit an agenda item to the next delegate council meeting. So a couple different pathways here. For someone that answered D, why don't you share a little bit of why you thought that's the most appropriate way to raise that question initially? Richard.
The forum already exists. It's got a lot faster turnaround than a delegate council meeting, which meets 4 times a year. And if you're going to reach out to other member organizations, you have to choose which ones are likely to give you a useful response. And you don't know that ahead of time.
Okay.
And I also think the key word is initially.
Agreed.
It also seemed like a better response than C because I don't know how to seek input from the NGS member organizations other than Facebook or the website. So to me, I thought, well, Facebook, because plus I'm on it every day. So, you get a good response.
Yeah. Well, good point there, and something we'll know about knowing where to turn to and how to turn to the group. Okay, so not a lot selected, just B. If you did, do you want to share why you thought that was a good route to go?
Well, I actually did select that one mainly because I think that's such I think I must have missed the word initially, but that is such a project that we've all talked about, the virtual and the hybrid, that it seems like something that we would submit to the delegate council meeting. And somewhere earlier in this meeting today, I did hear someone say that, to submit items to the delegate council. So that's what I was thinking.
Yep. Other comments on this? Christina?
Yeah, I excuse me, I initially chose D, and I still think that's a good way to start. But C is also very important, especially if you have a member organization that's in your general, let's say, geographic area or size. It might have some ideas for you to bounce it off of them, because they may have also had that discussion and came up with a solution that might help.
Okay. Okay, let's go to our third. Oh, yep.
I have a question.
Yep.
Um,
Suzanne.
And I agree. I think that, getting input from other NGS organizations is important. And like she just mentioned, within your area, either size-wise or geographic area. So that brings up the question, do we have a membership list, or we have access to a membership list so that we can make that contact?
That is a good question. And I don't have the direct answer to that, but we can certainly check to see what kind of access you would have to a list outside of just accessing the group. on
And I
Facebook.
will make sure that we follow up with that, Joe. Let me just say that I think the member platform that we will be having on Higher Logic will be it's not available yet. Facebook is available now, but as that Higher Logic gets implemented, that is definitely going to be the way that you'll be able to find other member organizations that will be able to help you. But I will find out whether that will allow us to have an actual roster of organizations. I don't really know the answer to that yet, but I will check with Matt.
Yep, I do know when you're in Higher Logic, you can see who's a member of the group that you're in. So you will be able to see who's part of those communities that you're in within Higher Logic. So that should take care of that.
I have a question. There's already exists on Facebook some groups of society leadership. I believe there's one for North Texas. With the, what is the name of the logic? The Higher Logic thing that NGS will be launching. Just a thought would be to make the NGS Higher Logic greater capability available to people in that group, at least to make them aware of it. Not necessarily to take away their participants, but if I understand how this is going to work, sponsored by NGS, there'll be a broader base of responses.
Great point. And perhaps that's another note for NGS around how to organize within Higher Logic. If there's opportunity to organize in a different way to connect leaders within their organizations. I think there was another question, but I don't know who had their hand up. Is there someone else?
I had my hand up, but I took it down, but I did notice there was the attendee list for this kickoff meeting in our packet. And that's been beneficial today for me to just make notations of who's in group B and different things. So thank you.
Okay, next question, if there's no other comments on this one. Okay, you have noticed that many member organizations are having problems with finding new volunteers and leaders. What should you do? Call the VP for Society and Organization Management, submit an agenda item to the next Delegate Council meeting, seek input from other member organizations, ignore the issue, someone else will deal with it. For both B and C. Well, no one has taken the bait on ignoring the issue, so I think that's a good sign. Okay, 23 responses so far. A lot have gravitated towards E. Let's go ahead and see the correct answer. Okay, great. B and C. So B, submit an agenda item to the next Delegate Council meeting to discuss ways NGS might facilitate a training program on recruiting volunteers. or C, seek input from other member organizations. So similar opportunity here. Maybe the issues are different, and that's why you might take a different path for input here. So if you answered B and C, you want to give some feedback on why you answered that way. What made this issue in particular
I didn't read all the way down the list.
That makes me feel better. Because I just worried about the last one, but I did choose that one because, again, I'll go back to the fact that that's an important topic, just like the other one was, and it's something you would like to see on the agenda. But I also understood what you said the last time about seeking information from other member organizations. So both of those would be great.
Well, and I agree with Carla. I think this is a huge issue. You know, I'm sure, 99.9% of us have been dealing with getting new people in and getting new ideas and just getting volunteers, especially after this pandemic, getting volunteers back into place. So I think that, yes, putting it on the agenda for one of the 4 monthly meetings, because it would be an issue that all of us could address. But I also think to be more timely, getting some information from, the Facebook page, which I just pulled up, by the way, then we could have some initial discussion that would then come into the actual delegate council meeting.
Sure. So
Speaking of that Facebook page, if you're not a member of it yet, please go on and ask to become a member. I just let in 8 people, so keep it coming.
I saw a whole bunch of new names.
So this question is phrased a little bit differently. We've already noticed that there's members talking about this. So we've already seen the issue talked about in the Facebook group. And that's why the next step here is submit an agenda item, right? So we've already identified that it's an issue. We're seeing that discussion out there elsewhere. And either there's enough discussion about it that we like to raise this issue with the delegate council meeting and organize some formal training or programming to address the issue.
I'm sorry, could you say the name of the group again on Facebook?
Yeah, I think the link is there in the chat as well.
Well, okay.
That link is for a different group, for Genealogical Society Webmasters.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we'll have
the name of it on Facebook is the NGS Society and Organization Leaders Forum.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments on this question? Now, obviously the D is not a great path to solving the issue, but seeking input from other member organizations, that's sort of where it came from. We've already addressed it. It's already come up, and that's why it's getting elevated. Calling the VP of Society and Organization Management, that's not the right answer there, because you have your community where you can bring these things up, and that's the delegate council. So it was discussed in Facebook, in the future discussed on Higher Logic, and then the next step, logically, take it to the next delegate council meeting to find a formal pathway forward to training. Okay,
This is Margaret. One other thing I wanted to mention in relation to this question is we don't necessarily have to stay within the genealogy community to learn how to build volunteers and leaders. I know that some of us are members of lineage societies, for example, and we have the same challenges in those sometimes. So if we can bring something we learn from other organizations into our genealogy societies, then that's a good thing too. So I just wanted to throw that out there as an idea.
That's a great point, Margaret. You know, the organizer, the website Board Source has been mentioned a few times. That has great resources on governance and also volunteer engagement. I know that the title or the designation Certified Association Executive has been mentioned. That Matt has that designation. That's offered by the American Society of Association Executives, which has a lot of great resources on volunteer engagement. So there are different organizations out there that cater to volunteer nonprofit management that you can seek resources for and share those resources amongst the group. Okay, let's jump to the fourth question. Okay, you would like to see a change to the NGS website. What should you do? Email the delegate council chairperson, submit an agenda item for the next council meeting, use the contact us page, call the VP for Society and Organization Management, or again, ignore the issue. Someone else will deal with it. Okay. Almost 21 responses. 95% say use the contact us page of the website. Okay, why don't we go ahead and see the correct response, and that is use the contact us page on the website. So that is correct. Why is that correct? Anyone want to share their thoughts?
I'm happy to jump in and just say, this is the kind of item that our staff would handle. So it doesn't need to be taking up the time of the delegate council or Sherry's role as vice president. You know, we're very lucky. We're a society that has staff, and so they would be handling this kind of concern.
Right. Great point. And, you know, that as we kind of reflect back on the previous questions, you know, where are the issues in terms of their life cycle? Have they been discussed by the delegate council? Are they appropriate for the delegate council, or are they appropriate for NGS or the NGS staff to address? And as Catherine stated, you know, this is a great example of, you know, a tactical issue, something operational that, you know, isn't, you may have noticed it because you're actively involved in the delegate council, but it's not an issue for the delegate council, something that could be submitted to the website, the contact us page, I should say. So any questions on this one in particular? Understanding the difference between something that comes to the delegate council to discuss and potentially bring forward to NGS versus something that's more staff driven. Okay. All right, any other questions on this one? All right. Now that was our last question. So I know we've got about 10 more minutes here for just general comments, questions, and discussion for the group. So I'll open the floor if anyone has any questions related to council. Suzanne, you have your hand up? There you go.
I do. A while back, someone mentioned that having local advertising, that there no longer is a newspaper that, you know, prints the local events and advertising. And I just wanted to make one suggestion. Do you have Nextdoor in your neighborhood? We have found Nextdoor to be very helpful. When we were still meeting in person, we had quite a few people who just, you know, walked in the door because they had seen something on that forum. So I'm suggesting that.
I will have to check that out. I'm not sure, but I will check that out. Thank you.
Yes.
Can you describe what that is? Like a website, a Facebook page? What are we looking for?
No, it's, well, go to Nextdoor, Google Nextdoor, and then they will ask you your location. And you can put in a city or a zip code, but it's usually broader than one zip code. Well, at least in Phoenix it is. And it's just a local people chat about, you know, here's a lost dog, here's a lost cat, here, I'm a plumber, can I help you? It's just a real neighborhood chit chat. And you can limit the geographic area, or you can broaden it to meet whatever your needs are. So we were putting ours on every month when we were meeting in person at the community center. And now we're putting it on and giving a link to the website. So it's another communication.
Okay.
One of the C's.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you.
like a neighborhood watch sort of a thing. And something similar to that is a lot of towns or cities might have a Facebook page for their town where people can kind of talk about issues or concerns. But a lot of times those Facebook groups have very specific rules about what you can and can't post. So I would just say be careful about that as well.
Can I respond really quickly to Suzanne's suggestion? Maybe think of one other thing that we have tried. We have our local television station that's run through the city council. And they do allow groups, nonprofit groups especially, to have a free like screenshot that they will just, you know, they run on, you know, all just continually day and night. And we've tried that, but it's like very few people watch the Channel 3. So we're trying all kinds of options.
Let's see, Kate, you had your hand up.
Yeah, similar to Nextdoor, we've tried meetup.com. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with that, but even in the pandemic times, it's a website where you can post local events and people might be browsing that they're interested in genealogy and find your event. There is a fee, I think it's about $250 a year to post on that website, but we've had some success with that, with getting people who are interested in genealogy, searching for genealogy related events, and then coming to our meetings using that resource.
Great. Carla.
Okay, so this is on a larger scale, I understand this, but we put aside money. Our local PBS station, we are actually, we get a good rate as a nonprofit, but we're one of the sponsors of Finding Your Roots. And right before it comes on every week with a new one, you know, it has our logo and it talks of it's a short one, but we have had so much response to that from people saying, we didn't even know you guys were here. So that's, you know, if you can put some money away to do something like that on a big scale, just to get your society's name out there, that really helps.
Great. Beth, you have your hand up.
Another thing for your events is don't forget Conference Keeper. Conference Keeper is a website where you can submit your events and conferences.
John?
Many communities have informal online newsletters. They vary. I'm in the Metro Mess of North Texas, so we've got a number of these. Some of them are free, some of them charge for advertising, but they're almost universally desperate for content. So just telling somebody you're having a meeting and who the speaker is may be worth your time doing it, but what might be more receptive to those people is to put up a story and then say, now we're going to have a speaker that would elaborate on that story or would tell the background of that story this Thursday night at 6:30. So you got to kind of think like the editors of these informal online newsletters to get them to cooperate.
Okay. John T.
Another thing we can do too is making use of our Facebook pages to share each other's announcements and therefore amplify even more, what's going on, because that's a great way to get the message spread around.
Okay. Margaret.
We're near Fort Belvoir, Virginia, and we advertise with the Spouses Club. One of our very active volunteers came to our society through that advertisement, and we're really glad to have her.
Right. So we've got about 5 minutes left. I will turn our attention back to the council and ask if there's any questions, any scenarios that you may have or thought about as we answered those questions about how your interaction would go with the delegate council if you had an issue or a question that you wanted to raise with NGS. So I'd welcome any thoughts on those, any scenarios that you may have.
I have this one, excuse me, go ahead, Michael.
Okay, I was just going to ask, if we had recently taken an NGS course and had some input about the course material and the teaching methods that are used on NGS versus what is out there elsewhere, who do we forward something like that to?
That's Liz Stratton. You're talking about the NGS courses?
Yes.
Yeah, so if it has to do with course content, you want to contact Liz Stratton.
And what's her position?
So she's like the coordinator, the course,
Okay.
like she's the person you contact first. The person who's, there's another person who's kind of course content creator, but Liz Stratton is that first person. If it's like a more technological concern, then it's Susan Yockey. But if it's a course content, it's a Liz Stratton question.
Okay, thank you. It's more of a teaching strategies and approach update.
Then that, give me 1 second and I will come right back to you.
Thank you.
That would be Angela McGee. I'll answer for you, Sam. And
That's the
Michael,
name I was trying to think of. It's right there.
Yeah, best to go to the website and go to the Learning Center, which is where all the educational things, and I'm pretty sure you should be able to find the way to contact them. Or,
Right.
and you could definitely start with Susan. She, again, is our staff person that handles our education things, so
Sure.
she'll get you to the right person.
Great question. Let me ask Christina first, and then Suzanne, I'll come to you.
Excuse me. Basically, I just was curious if anyone's had any, I know this is a recent merge, but what kind of time lag would there be between a question sent in and the response coming back?
A question to the staff or to the delegate council?
Excuse me, delegate council.
Great question. And I would turn to one of our NGS reps here to help with that in terms of a turnaround time.
It's a work in progress. We're creating the system currently.
Exactly. Yes.
So unfortunately, we don't know, but I think that's why we're kind of addressing that more generally. If we need something that's more time oriented, then it's best to go to Facebook forum right now. And then once we have Higher Logic, then that'll be the best place to go for more time sensitive things.
All right, we've got about 60 seconds, Suzanne.
Well, I just had a quick question. I was reading that some people have been using blogs. They've actually given up the newsletter and are going to a blog format. I'd be interested in hearing more about that.
Okay, we'll make a note of that and see if we can get that shared.
Anybody
Okay.
in this group doing blogs?
Genealogy webmasters might be another great place to look at that, because there's a lot of discussion about websites versus WordPress and things like that.
Okay, good, good. That's what I was thinking about. All right, thank you.
We actually have both.
We also have both.
Okay. About 10 seconds here before we head back in. So thank you again. I appreciate everyone's input, participation. Very helpful. We'll see you in the main room.